All right, we're going to talk about finishing a joint in a stone coping, a stone sill, something that's going to receive caulking. We're not actually going to finish the mortar joint. We're going to cut the mortar out and have it prepared for caulking. A lot of times the caulking is more durable for a skyward joint, won't let water in as easily. Also, if you're doing a precast or a fake stone product that's made from concrete, concrete shrinks. Especially in our climate with the different cycles of weather we have. And what typically happens is once that shrinking occurs, we get a hairline crack where the mortar joint is. So now the joint sealant, the caulking, will flex and move. So that's why it is preferred in that application. Now, the issue that we see a lot of guys doing is that they don't clean out the joint properly to allow for the caulking, and they also don't finish and clean the stone. So what you want to do whenever you're cleaning it out is you want to dig out enough mortar that you could essentially put the backer rod and the caulking in. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute about backer rod and its importance. It seems like a lot of people seem to think that backer rod is just to fill a hole or save on caulking. They don't understand the purpose and function of the backer rod correctly. So that's what we're going to discuss. Now, if you can see and take a look in here, you can see that joint is full. There's mortar all through the joint. That's what it should look like, full of mortar whenever you're done cleaning it. Now, we want to be nice and deep enough that we can put the backer rod in and the joint sealant. Now, once we do that, we're not done. We then have to take our sponge that we're wiping our wall down with and wipe this down just like the joints that we're finishing. There's no reason to have to power wash this later. When you walk away from a stone coping or a stone seal, it should be finished. And if it's going to haze up on you, sometimes you're going to have to go over it one more time. Take one time with the sponge to get the heavy off. Clean the sponge, clean water, and then go over your joints again to get any haze off. If potentially a light power washing, if anything, if it hazes up. But there should be no reason for the washdown crew to have to pay any attention to this when you're finished with it. All right, now I'm going to explain the importance of backer rod. In your joint, your mortar's down here. You want to put the backer rod in the joint, and then when they fill this with the sealant and then they take their spatula across to give it a concave, what you wind up with here is an hourglass figure turned sideways in your sealant. That makes this center of the joint sealant the thin part. This is the weak part. This is the thick part, so it is stronger. So when the stone shrinks and moves, this weak part flexes and it gives, and it'll expand and contrast as needed. Whereas this part, which is strong, will hold tight to its seal. Now, whenever people don't do this correctly and they just take their slicker and they just cut out the middle and you don't put the backer rod in, you wind up with this. Then whenever they put the caulking in, now this is the thickest part and the strongest part of the joint sealant. So whenever the stone shrinks and flexes and moves, we separate here or both, and then we have a hairline crack and the joint doesn't work properly. See, the backer rod is not just caulk saver. The backer rod is part of the integrity and structure of the joint. It is required. Some people will shove you'll see the handyman special take a putty knife and shove newspaper in there. He essentially creates this problem. That's why it always fails. True professional caulking contractor, how we like to do it ourselves when it's in our scope, uses backer rod because it is part of the system. So whenever you're setting your cast stone, make sure you rake back your joint far enough to allow for the backer rod and the caulking. Make sure you sponge it off nice so we don't have to come back later to clean it. That's how we do it.